Hey guys, what is up? It's Shadowlands back with another commentary. Today I'm going to be doing one brought to my friend Arnie, previously in my clan as Rebel Remix. His account got stolen a while ago and he hasn't played Combat Arms since really. It's been over a year, but I got to talk with him on Skype today and he gave me a great idea for a commentary, and that's just about what the type of game Combat Arms is and what makes it different from like Call of Duty and Counter-Strike, even if it's not so different from some and more different from others. I mean, if you look at a game like Battlefield and compare it to Combat Arms, there's nothing you'll find that is the same. The games are dynamically different. There's nothing that you can really compare other than the fact that there are guns and you shoot people. That's about the only similar thing. The physics is different, everything. But if you look at Call of Duty, there's slightly more similarities, and if you look at a game like Counter-Strike, you could mistake the two if you were to take Combat Arms and roll it back a few years. It's just that similar, and that's what I wanted to go over. So, I mean, if you look at graphics, it's almost a cartoony style of game. Now, it's not cartoony in the way that TF2 is, and, oh gosh, what are some other games, like Nexys and, Arctic, and it's not cartoony in those ways. It's a little bit different. It doesn't have that futuristic look to it. It has modern day weapons and stuff, and it does incorporate some older stuff, which is kind of cool. But it's mostly a modern day game, and it doesn't have a whole lot that's futuristic. It doesn't have a whole lot that's super old, but it does have some cool stuff to it, and on the latter of that. But graphics-wise, just content-wise, it's very modern. It's a game that it supports the physics engine. The graphics is built to support the physics. My feeling is when they made this game, they made the physics first and then the graphics, for the graphics to support the physics. And it has very unique physics that's only supported in a couple of games. Counter-Strike has the closest I can think of. Arctic Combat is also similar. Blacklight Retribution is a little bit different. It's more of like a Black Ops 2 in the future scenario type game, but it's unique in its own right. So to put it as far as the way of just physics, the jumping is very unrealistic. The damage, I mean, if you get shot with a bullet, you're going to die, and the way they spread the damage, where you do less damage if you get hit in the arm and the leg, that's realistic, but obviously it's not realistic as in if you get shot in the leg, you don't move as fast or whatever. No game is so perfect that it can incorporate all of that at this point in time. I'm sure one day it will be, and it might be a very popular game. So far, I think Battlefield probably has the best stance on being realistic, or at least as close to reality as you can get with a game like this, but Call of Duty isn't really that close to it. It has the realistic looking graphics, or more realistic, but even then it has some layer of cartoonishness, whatever you want to call it, where you just can't match it perfectly. Battlefield is possibly one of the closest, but games like Left 4 Dead, a lot of things that you find in the Steam engine, Combat Arms, a lot of these games aren't as realistic as some other ones. And then there's things like the game sounds. The game sounds are relatively accurate, but a gun is not going to sound the exact same every time you fire it. There's going to be a slight difference, and that's obviously another thing that's not super incorporated. It might be more realistic if they were to incorporate like 3 or 4 different sounds and make the silencer sound a little bit different. Not all silencers sound like that, although they're relatively accurate to the actual reality of silencers. But that's just another thing. And on top of that, then there's things about the game, like the community, that don't really affect the game itself, like the physical game. But there's the community. To be honest, the Nexon community for Combat Arms is not super good. The Steam community is a lot better, to be honest. If you look at the Steam community of Combat Arms, it's quite a bit better, and it took off in a much more fresh direction than the current Combat Arms community in-game. The in-game community is, to be honest, it's one of the worst communities I've ever been on, and I am a avid 4chaner, 9gagger, and just this kind of person. I'm saying this is a bad community. I mean, the community is not very good. Accusations and stuff. It wasn't really something that the community brought on itself. It's just the fact that Nexon early on didn't do a good job with fixing hacks, and it just caused a lot of problems. So it's not so much the game's fault. Small portion of Nexon's fault with the bans and stuff, and small portion of just hackers in general, and there's nothing you can really do about that. So that's just my kind of idea of what a Nexon game is and what Combat Arms is to me and how I see it. But thank you guys for watching this commentary. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and check out my later videos. Shadowlands out.